In 1935, a geographical dividing line was drawn diagonally across the map of China. The line, devised by a scholar, is considered one of the most important discoveries in the study of Chinese geography in the 20th century. This geographical dividing line is known in international academic circles as the Hu Line. When the Hu Line was first adopted, the area to its east, which accounted for 43.71% of China's total land area, was inhabited by 94.39% of the population. The area to the west of the line, with 56.29% of the country's land area, had just 5.61% of China's total population at the time. Living standards to the west of the line were generally much lower than to the east. China's 6th national census, conducted in 2010, showed that the population ratio had barely changed. As a result, the Hu Line became known as the immovable line. 80% of China's rural poor live to the west of the Hu Line. Some of the most challenging areas in China's battle against poverty are found here, including Tibet, the 4 southern administrative districts of Xinjiang, and several autonomous prefectures in Sichuan, Yunnan, Gansu, and Qinghai. So this area naturally became the main battlefield in China's war on poverty. On the morning of October the 16th, 2015, the 2015 Global Poverty Reduction and Development Forum was held at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. At the event, China made a key proposal. We will eliminate poverty among all people living below the current poverty line in the next 5 years. To achieve this goal, the Chinese government would implement a 5-pronged strategy. The country's rural poor would be helped out of poverty through the development of local industries, relocation, ecological restoration, education, and social security. The complexity of the causes of poverty made it necessary to adopt diverse poverty alleviation methods. On November the 29th, 2011, the Central Conference on Poverty Alleviation was held in Beijing. The government set the new poverty threshold at 2,300 yuan. This was above the international standard set by the World Bank. Following the 18th CPC National Congress in 2012, China's poverty alleviation effort entered a new stage. As a result, by 2019, the percentage of the population living in poverty had fallen from 10.2% to 0.6%, with an average of over 10 million people being lifted out of poverty each year. In this way, China became the first country to realize one of the UN Millennium Development Goals. And Chinese wisdom could make a contribution to global governance on poverty reduction. The target the Chinese government set was that, by the end of 2020, there would be no more rural people living below the poverty line and no more impoverished counties. In June 2018, a company called Wangfu Embroidery from Inner Mongolia attended the Milan International Fashion Week in Italy. Subsequently, it displayed its clothing products at the Dubai Autumn International Trade Fair 2018. The following year, at the Paris Spring-Summer Fashion Week in September 2019, one of the most important events on the fashion industry calendar, The company's patterned embroidery products created considerable interest among the international participants.
9月份的时候，我们接了一个深圳的一个皮绣的订单，它就是一个意大利进口的一个皮，上面我们绣的一些龙啊，还有美人鸟，是带到法国的巴黎订货会，还有米兰的时装周。那个时候我们是特别兴奋的，别看是一个特别小的一个作品，然后有机会我们要走出国门，让全世界的人都知道王府刺绣、草原文化有多么的了不起。
These creations, appearing on the world's leading fashion stages, weren't the work of master craftsmen. They were produced by a group of poor farmers in Inner Mongolia's Horchin right middle banner. Located on the west side of the northern section of the Hu Line, close to a desert, Horchin right middle banner enjoys only about 300 millimeters of rainfall a year. Yet the evaporation rate is over 2,000 millimeters. As a result, the whole area is arid. In 2012, out of a total population of 240,000 in the banner, around a quarter were living below the poverty line. With the country implementing some major plans for alleviating poverty, Horchin right middle banner was encouraged to industrialize their unique traditional Wangfu embroidery. Wangfu embroidery has a history of over 400 years. The craft, said to have been inherited from a Mongolian king, is still widely practiced in the area.
特别适合农民，他不出户，在家里面一日三餐不耽误，其他农活不耽误，照顾老人不耽误，关心孩子不耽误。这个产业特别适合于偏僻的农村牧区。
In December 2016, with money from a poverty alleviation fund, Horchin right middle banner established a 1,200-meter workshop to produce Wangfu embroidery. The tools and materials were supplied free of charge, and experts were brought in to teach the embroidery skills. Bai Jingying, a skilled Wangfu embroiderer, became the workshop's coach. She oversees more than 600 poverty-stricken farmers and herders who work there full-time.
我们重点关注和发展培育简单利卡贫户，因为从中呢让他提高收入脱贫，有这个获得感，有这种幸福感。那么我们有目标的给他培训的时候，刚开始非常难，针线都不会拿，我们一次两次，不断的去。 耐心的给他教，这样以后现在2895个简单利卡贫户呢，2017年的平均收入达到了1809元，那么2018年平均收入达到了2000块钱。这里头呢，最高的简单利卡贫户的收入是6万块钱，最少的是300到500块钱，平均起来是2000块钱。
Embroidery is traditionally regarded as the preserve of women. But now, a young man named Da Jie is regarded as one of the most skilled embroiderers in Inner Mongolia. Initially, after graduating from high school, Da Jie left home and joined his father doing itinerant work. But he always struggled to earn a decent living. However hard he and his father worked, they remained desperately poor. Eventually, Da Jie returned to the village and joined the poverty alleviation workshop. He studied hard and before long became a skilled embroiderer, earning a good income. He was able to lift his family out of poverty. Examples of Da Jie's embroidery were shown at the fashion weeks in Italy and France.
如果没有这个项目的话，可能就是有更多的老百姓。 他就是没有活干，就是有很多家庭就是可能比我们更困难。
2 years ago, Mei Rong's family was also living in poverty. She was working as a waitress and laborer, but due to a serious illness, half her stomach had to be removed and she could no longer do heavy work. Without her income, her family faced even deeper problems. A focus of the embroidery workshop and other poverty alleviation projects is to help those living in extreme difficulties. Like Da Jie, Mei Rong found work at a poverty alleviation workshop. Being clever and hard-working, she became not only a skilled embroiderer, but also a trainer. Mei Rong's lively explanations enthralled the villagers and helped them master the practical skills. With a view to modernizing itself, the embroidery workshop established an association promoting college student entrepreneurship. Under it, a product research and development center designs new patterns, and a sales center solicits orders and works to broaden its e-commerce sales channels. By combining design and manufacturing more closely and streamlining production, supply, and marketing, the workshop was able to turn out the high-quality products that appear in Shenzhen and Paris. Through a door-to-door service, the workshop collects the products made by the poor households and sells them via its own sales channels. Records of the transactions are kept on a daily basis, which are compiled into a monthly report. There are around 20,000 workers participating in the Wangfu embroidery project in Huoqin Right Middle Banner. Among them are some who come from its 2,895 registered poor households. Before the workshop was set up, they had nothing to do. Some spent all their time at the mahjong table. Now these former mahjong experts have become masters of the art of embroidery.
朝霞来了吗？那是打麻将高手，也不打了，这回开始刺绣当老师了。朝霞，你带了多少人了？200-300个兵吧。
It's March the 26th, 2019, and everyone is happy because it's payday. They never dreamed in the past that one day they'd be earning tens of thousands of yuan with just a needle and thread. Huoqin Right Middle Banner has been developing a number of local industries using various economic development models with the aim of lifting people out of poverty as a matter of urgency. In 2013, there were 67,000 poverty-stricken people in the banner. By the end of 2018, they had all been lifted out of poverty. Daliangshan in southwest China is a key battleground in the war on poverty and a place where officials face their biggest challenge. Xiao Han, a graduate of Southwest Jiaotong University, came to work at the Jiaojie County Tobacco Monopoly Bureau in Liangshan Yi Autonomous Prefecture in February 2015. 8 months later, he was sent to a poor village in Daliangshan to lead the poverty alleviation effort.
接到说来村里面干，第一书记就通知，第一个想法呢，就是给家里边说一声。
Xiao Han comes from a single-parent family. He was raised by his mother. She was worried that he wouldn't adapt to rural life.
我都没得时间在他农村，农村的那种生活环境条件啥子，他都是空白，一片空白，一样都没得。
农村生活的概念就是风吹草低见牛羊那种感觉，其他的还没有就过多的，也甚至没有过一晚，就没有那种更深刻的体验。
On October the 30th, 2015, Xiao Han arrived in Jiebanada village in Jiaojue County to take up the post of First Secretary. After assessing the situation, he resolved not to leave until the village was lifted out of poverty.
第一个咱们搞的就叫精准扶贫，首先就是要你知道这一家是因什么贫的，是不是贫困，通过这种手段来给老百姓定点定位，找准喽，咱们才能把后边脱贫的事儿给做好。
On his first morning, Xiao Han set off at dawn to visit the village's poor households. Eventually, he decided that what the village needed was roads to make it more accessible.
一个小伙子哈，他说，从他差不多就是记得这段时，他要走出山这段时间，他说20年都是只能走小路。我问他就是说，小路至少还有路吗？ 他其实后边我去看了之后才，其实小路就是人走多了踏出来的那种路。
In the course of 4 years, Xiao Han matured from carefree urban youth to village head, managing the labor, supplies, and other affairs for hundreds of people. Through hard work, he succeeded in transforming the village.
必须要来的，必须要做的这件事儿，这是一个必须的事情。这就是可能大学的时候对那个 入党誓词这一段的回顾，可能就是这种你来了之后，可能心里面会很碰撞，但是还一定要把这个事儿给做了。不做的话，你就像逃兵那样，不行。
Xiao Han's achievements in Jiebanada village reveal a unique feature of China's success in alleviating poverty. The system can mobilize millions of cadres to go to poor villages and lead the work. They are the core leadership force in the poverty alleviation drive. Hancheng, located on the east side of the Luos Plateau in Shanxi province, is 70% mountainous. Arid for most of the year, the concentrated rainfall in summer often causes serious soil erosion. Monggo is the most remote village among the mountains of northwest Hancheng. 10 years ago, the villagers here were living in mud houses. The rugged mountain path leading to the county town was so narrow that 2 tricycles couldn't pass each other. As one of the poorest villages in the area, Monggo became a key target of the poverty alleviation effort. The authorities decided that to help the villagers escape poverty and achieve prosperity as soon as possible, policies and measures should be directed at supporting the development of the pepper industry. In 2015, the year when the Global Poverty Reduction and Development Forum was held in Beijing, a pepper cooperative was established in Monggo. Organic pepper gardens covering 200 hectares were established. The introduction of various new techniques made management more efficient. The quality of the pepper was significantly improved, with the result that it could command a higher price on the market.
我们的韩城花椒产业占全国的1/6，但是近几年全国各省都在发展花椒这个产业。我们作为发展的早的一个地方，所以我们要提质增效，所以我们要生产我们的那个生态有机花椒。目前像我们这个礼品包装的话，每一年 像我们18年只是5吨吧，不保留的时候，我们的净利润是12.8万。我们村民最大的变化就是从以前可以吃不饱，到现在可以说是不愁吃不愁穿，而且是有房有车了。
On September the 27th, 2017, a Rural Collective Economic Organization Registration Certificate was issued to the Monggo Village Cooperative by the Hanchang Economic Management Bureau. 161 people in the village became shareholders. Under the terms of the cooperative's regulations, part of the profits would be distributed equitably among the partners and part reinvested. Of the money earned by the cooperative, 49% is shared among the farmers and 51% is invested in its management and sustainable development. Based on its success, Monggo established its own pepper brand, Mengxiang Jiao. Ke Zhangjiang is not a member of the cooperative, but he and his wife still contract 40 acres in the village to grow peppers.
这个花椒改变了我们，一个是收益也大，二一个就是人也不操什么心，依靠政府帮忙，因为我们也是扶贫户，也是政府也给我们这大量支持，也给我们有5万元的这个切息款，没有利息。
那比以前才来好多了嘛，就还有房子，对交通也方便，也各方面比以前都好多了。
The residents of Monggo village, who in the past lacked adequate food and clothing, are now well fed and well clothed. With a house in the town and a place of work in the countryside, they are enjoying life more than ever before.
一村一品实际上是中国的农业产业发展和中国的扶贫发展过程中总结出来的非常有效的模式或者是经验。一村一品有助于树立这个基本的生产单元，比如说我们所说的一村，它的这种生产的这种特色，以及他们在市场上的定位。
Many of China's poorest villages are located in mountainous areas. One such is Lyojai village in Wulong Mountain Township, Shanxi Province. In 2011, out of 700 people in Lyojai, 249, or 36%, were registered as poor. In its fight against poverty, the village in the hollow of a mountain has made use of various preferential policies and channels of government financing to develop an industry that is suited to the local conditions. In 2012, village secretary Chang Yu-jun began studying greenhouse cultivation. She built a greenhouse and her vegetables earned a decent profit that year. Lyojai today has 88 spring and autumn greenhouses, 10 winter greenhouses, and 10 fruit and flower sheds. Industrial innovation is reaping huge rewards on land that once yielded little.
我们一共是4座这个高标准的大棚，这个大棚里面啊，不同的种的这个不同的有水果树，有花卉，有樱桃啊，就是咱们说的那个车厘子，然后有苹果呀、梨呀、桃啊、葡萄啊等，然后花卉有什么嘞？花卉就是我们的康乃馨，还有这个百合。
With active government support, Lyojai has diversified its business. Today, it cultivates cash crops such as walnut trees and medicinal herbs on more than 300 acres of once barren slopes and gullies. Chang Yu-jun has also encouraged the villagers to learn new farming techniques and to develop industries based on chicken and sheep farming. In December 2016, Lyojai village was officially listed as having been lifted out of poverty. By 2018, per capita income, which had been 1,000 yuan in 2010, had risen to 6,000 yuan. On October the 17th, 2018, Chang Yu-jun, secretary of Lyojai village, received a national award for poverty alleviation in Beijing.
在我们2016年的时候吧，我们整个村呢要脱贫的时候，那个时候我们的老百姓那个精神面貌啊大不相同。为什么呢？就是我们的住房安了，我们的产业有了，老百姓的那种收入高了。在我的感觉中吧，就是不光是富了他的口袋，首先要富了他的脑袋，思想啊各方面啊，你看都得叫他强劲，叫他进步。感受到好多的温暖，感受到就是国家这么好的政策，在我们农村能让每个老百姓都享受到这个政策的这种温暖，真的是心里头感觉这种收获都是满满的、沉甸甸的这种感觉。
Every family in Lyojai has now moved into a new home. The village has broad and flat paved roads, a solar power station, a nursing home, a health center, a library, an activity center, and a basketball court. Just as remarkable has been the transformation of people's outlook on life. Huochin right middle banner had a severe desertification problem. Monggo village on the Luos plateau faced serious soil erosion, and Lyojai village was trapped in the mountain depths. All three places are located in areas of extreme poverty, which have been key targets of the poverty alleviation campaign. In these places, local industries are now flourishing. Their successful examples have served to encourage more support for the nationwide poverty alleviation effort. Promoting industries that are suited to the local condition injects vitality into poverty-stricken areas. Life for entire families is transformed as they prosper and enjoy greater comfort. However, a major problem impeding development in remote poverty-stricken areas has been the difficulty of delivering goods promptly to the wider market. Now this problem has largely been solved. The combination of a convenient and comprehensive transport system and developed information network has created an e-commerce system extending across the whole country. Hefeng County in the Wuling Mountains area of Hubei Province is a traditional tea-growing region. However, the mountains and valleys once prevented its products from reaching the external market.
因着病因学小儿上学，几个方面呢，都是家里的比较困难。
下面的、上面的都收工了。
They grew tea but couldn't sell it. Today, though, e-commerce is helping to ease the poverty here. Tsai Hongzhao's family was registered as living below the poverty line. He used to earn very little from his tea garden. Now e-commerce has transformed him into a high-income entrepreneur.
在政府和公司的这个指导和帮助下，我们自身努力把这个有机茶发展起来。到2017年，正式的 通过了国家认证机构的认证，成为有机茶，茶叶的价格收入翻倍了。所以在2017年呢，我就聘请了几个贫困户和非贫困户的在我这里帮忙采摘茶叶，在那一年就脱贫了。因为那年2017年我就在这个茶叶上就收入了9.1万元。
Tsai Hongzhao used e-commerce channels to promote his tea. Through the successful integration of production and marketing, he was able to lift his family out of poverty. Across Hefeng County, 167 offices, part of an e-commerce logistics system, have been established to serve 205 villages. They provide comprehensive and timely sales services for poor households producing local specialties. The traditional production techniques have been upgraded, and as a result, the farmers can now charge a higher price for their tea. The e-commerce network now covers every key county identified in the nationwide poverty alleviation campaign. However, lack of funds remains a major problem for poor areas in developing local industries. To address the shortfall, the central government has stepped up its support. Every year has seen an increase in the allocation of special funds from the central, provincial, municipal and prefectural governments, as well as small loans to support poverty alleviation. The main purpose of these funds is encouraging poverty-stricken areas to help themselves and stimulating the self-motivation of the impoverished people. The main purpose of these funds is encouraging poverty-stricken areas to help themselves and stimulating the self-motivation of the impoverished people. Mount Taimou in Ningde, Fujian province, is considered the most beautiful mountain on China's southeast coast. Chexi village, located in the depths of this mountain, is an example of the historical process of poverty alleviation maturing from fund transfusion to self-help. In early 1984, Wang Xiaoju, a Ningde-based journalist, conducted an investigation in Chexi. Subsequently, he sent a letter to People's Daily, describing the severe poverty in the village. He wrote about farmers who were living below the poverty line in broken, thatched cottages halfway up a mountain, and who had no hope of things getting better.
群众吃的就是什么？就是这地瓜拿来切成丝，晒干也好，拌野菜，这样就作为主粮了。那配的倒是就是盐巴、葱呀、开水就能当菜了，吃的就是这样。穿的呢，孩子们全部都是光屁股的，连一双拖鞋穿都没有，啊，因为当时我五月份去啊，那男人们全部都是光着板子的啊。那么妇女呢，她们穿的都是补了又补的破破烂烂的衣服。
On June the 24th, 1984, Wang Xiaoju's letter, accompanied by a commentary, appeared on the front page of People's Daily. The letter, titled Poor Mountain Village Hopes to Implement Special Policies to Treat the Poor and Get Rich, aroused considerable concern within the government. In September that year, the CPC Central Committee and the State Council published the Notice on Assisting Poor Areas to Change Their Appearance as Soon as Possible. The document heralded a nationwide large-scale poverty alleviation campaign. By the end of the 1980s, as the poverty alleviation campaign made progress, the poor households living among the mountains and in a dozen inaccessible villages in the area had moved to Chexi. Together they developed a number of tourism and ecological agricultural projects centered on the Mount Taimou scenic area.
原来是很贫穷。 然后有了景区啊，然后就是带动他们的就业啊，做导游啊，然后还有一些白茶，不仅有白茶，还有那个蘑菇啊、笋干啊，都可以带出去的。
In recent years, Chexi village has been receiving more than 200,000 visitors annually. Tourism alone earns each household tens of thousands of yuan on average. The per capita net income of the farmers has increased from 166 yuan in 1984 to over 20,000 yuan in 2019. Many young migrant workers have returned to start their own businesses. College graduate Du Ying came back home after giving up a job in the city. He founded a tea processing factory using $1 million yuan in venture capital he managed to raise.
那时候读大三的时候，我们还没毕业就过来跟他调研了，市场进行一个调研，然后感觉还是蛮有前景的，然后也两个人是比较有想法一点，然后就想着不想做一些传统的行业嘛，然后就想自己创业做一些事情。
The business is keeping them very busy. They process the white tea during the day and deal with orders at night.
之前的厂房是从最初的200平方到现在的1000多平方。我们现在在产值这一块也从当初的几十万做到了现在的400多万。
Chexi has been named a national pilot village for poverty alleviation through tourism. It has also been acclaimed as the most beautiful leisure village in China. Chershi Village's 3 decades-long experience reflects the transformation of poverty alleviation in China from fund transfusion to self-help. In helping themselves, villagers have discovered that the key is to develop industries that are suited to the local conditions. Newjiang Prefecture in Yunnan Province lies on the west side of the Hu Line, at its southernmost end. Here, most of the villages are scattered among rolling mountains and deep ravines. Late at night, songs can be heard from the headman He's house in Erduoge village. The music mingles with the distant sound of the Newjiang River and the wind from the Gaoli Gong Mountains. The villagers have just made an important decision. They have agreed to move to a new residential district at the foot of the mountains. The government plans to complete the relocation soon. They are singing in anticipation of a promising future. There are 19 families in Erduoge village living on top of a mountain. At over 2,000 meters above sea level, the working and living conditions are extremely poor. It takes 8 hours to reach the village from the mountain's foot.
因为全区的搬下个原因是就医难、就学难、交通不方便。交通不方便。出去外面找钱有点回来挺辛苦的，所以搬下个下面挺好的。
For such remote places as Erduoge village, getting rid of poverty in situ would require huge investment. Instead, it makes more sense to relocate the whole village and cut off the root of poverty at source. It takes the poverty alleviation team the entire day to reach Headman He's home in Erduoge. As soon as they arrive, they gather the heads of the households to discuss how the relocation will proceed. In the Ma-E River settlement on the Newjiang River, rows of bright, spacious apartments await the arrival of the impoverished villagers from Erduoge.
搬下去以后，菜地没有，猪圈没有，金圈没有，害怕担心这点。老百姓吧，最担心是有肉吃，有饭吃，有鸡杀。以后习惯了，娃娃大了，那最习惯的了，都不会在下面了，不愿意回来这里了。你说我个。
The Ma-E River settlement can accommodate more than 600 relocated families. However, finding them jobs is a challenge. The government is working to solve the problem. it has also introduced special policies to ensure that their incomes are increased. Meanwhile, a hospital, schools, and other public service facilities have been built, which are gradually being equipped.
我们对我们的帮前出来的这个接纳里卡夫啊，也安排了这个我们的这个公益系岗，有这个生态护理员，有这个河道管理员，有这个保洁员，有我们的这个辅给等等，通过几种举措啊，解决我们帮助的这个接纳里卡夫呢后续的这个收入问题。
In the past 2 years, relocating poor households has been the #1 project in Newjiang Prefecture's poverty alleviation drive. In the past 2 years, relocating poor households has been the #1 project in Newjiang Prefecture's poverty alleviation drive. Located on the southern margins of the Yunnan Guizhou Plateau, Dongguang County in Guangxi Zhuang Autonomous Prefecture is an area of karst topography where cultivated land is extremely scarce. In 2016, 23.4% of households here were living in extreme poverty. As part of the Pearl River Basin, the area has been benefiting from an energetic poverty alleviation drive launched by Guangdong Province.
肚子只有一根小小的木，可能是不是以前养猪的时候是那个猪砍的？你看那一根只有一丁点顶住那个石头，这是很危险的。一个受力不均匀的话，这个一塌，整个就会受力不均匀。
Many villages in Dongguang County are located deep among the mountains. Relocation has been the only realistic way of lifting them out of poverty. Guangdong and Guangxi have set up workshops to help the relocated families earn an income. Though not always easy, this approach has proved highly effective.
我们的一个扶贫车间能够给一些留守妇女在家门口就业，她就 自己会通过他的一个双手进行一个就业增收脱贫。有句俗话说：“授人以鱼，不如授人以渔。”所以我们的一个扶贫车间呢，能够给我们的东南县的一个脱贫攻坚事业，特别是贫困群众的就业方面呢，会起到一个非常大的一个作用。
The county is in the process of establishing a high-tech industrial park. Poverty alleviation official Chun Yiqiang, while working on the initial construction, is also devising strategies for attracting investment.
这个项目预计到2020年可以年产值有10亿元，外汇收入达到1亿美元以上，可带动附近的1万人以上在家门口就业，受益群众将达到4万人以上。
A principle of China's poverty alleviation drive is that people in areas with extremely poor natural conditions can only be helped through relocation. Tibet is known as the roof of the world. The high altitude makes it virtually impossible to develop production and improve living conditions in many of its poverty-stricken counties and townships. So, relocation is the only realistic way of helping. In March 2016, the first poverty alleviation resettlement in Tibet was launched in Sanyo village. It was given a complete infrastructure, including water and electricity supply networks, roads, communications systems, and public service facilities such as kindergartens and clinics.
老师发现了一个问题：1到10以内的单双数是一个单数，一个双数，一个单数，一个双数。好，那8是单数还是双数？双数。好，那你们想一想，9是单数还是双数呀？单数。单数，对吗？对。好，我请人气9米。
Since July 2016, in Qushui County, 712 people belonging to 184 poor households in 10 villages have moved into new homes in Sanyo.
当我也连看不出考这看不要没这你嘛不你没看不要不出要长着呢可以长着呢看要不真的。
There are three basic goals in relocating the poor: moving out, settling down, and achieving prosperity. Sanyo village has boosted employment opportunities by building shops for rent and chicken and dairy farms. It has also established areas for growing medicinal herbs and forage crops. In its effort to alleviate poverty through relocation, China is careful to protect traditional industries and traditional ethnic culture. On December the 23rd, 2019, the Tibet Autonomous Region Poverty Alleviation Headquarters announced that the region had removed 74 county-level districts from the poverty list. Thus, Tibet achieved the historic feat of eradicating absolute poverty. Before the 1950s, Tibet was still a slave-owning society. Most of its farmers and herders led a life of misery with no freedom. Today, the Tibetan people, like all the other Chinese people, are sharing the fruits of the country's modernization and development. Since 2016, almost 10 million people have been lifted out of poverty through relocation. Total investment in the relocation campaign nationwide has been 600 billion yuan. Including funds spent on housing construction, the figure rises to nearly 1 trillion yuan. China's eastern region, which got rich first, has been providing long-term support for the more slowly developing western region. The strategy is to encourage coordinated and mutual development and optimize the industrial layout with the aim of achieving the goal of common prosperity.
Achievements in poverty reduction in China have been exemplary. This is an incredible achievement. No one else in history has managed to bring that many people out of poverty in such a short period of time. There are plenty of lessons that can be shared, that can be learned from China and shared worldwide.
Poverty alleviation through major projects, relocation and mutual support between the eastern and western regions has been achieved according to a coordinated arrangement. Scientific planning and sustainable and effective operation have proved indispensable in every aspect of the campaign, from the formation and dispatch of poverty alleviation teams and the allocation of funds and physical resources, to the initiation, implementation and supervision of major projects. In all of this, China is demonstrating its institutional power and efficiency. Almost 3 million cadres have been dispatched to China's poverty-stricken areas. They address people's living demands, visit residents, and inspect dangerous houses, schools, and hospitals. Never before in human history has a government waged such a massive and powerful campaign against poverty. By succeeding in lifting all its rural residents out of poverty, China has honored a promise made by the CPC and the government.